Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to another PMP Q&A session. Our today's topic is selecting right project management methodology. All right, let's start. Question number 1. All right. Alan, you have chosen option B.
Hello, Amar. Yes. So at this point, the statement is mentioned that since the beginning is using waterfall methodologies. So in this case, they need to follow the sequential because they already have like the structure.
All right. Thank you. Marta, you have chosen option B.
I chose option B because given the fact that it's a waterfall methodology during the planning phase, it should be sequential so that they clearly understand what are the tasks that come one after the other and not overlapping.
All right. It should be sequential.
B, yes.
All right. Felicity, you haven't chosen anything. Could you please explain why? Just kidding. It's okay. Okay.
I actually chose B. I just didn't put it in the chat. B for Bravo.
Okay. Please explain if you like to.
Well, C is a scratch off because it says waterfall, which is predictive. And I mean, my understanding of the term phases is that, I mean, you have a phase 1, you have certain tasks within that phase. And so certain tasks may be overlapping, but the phases themselves would never be overlapping. So that scratches out A and D for me, and I went with B.
All right. But option D says phases in predicted projects could be either sequential or overlapping. Two phases could be overlapping. It's not phase can overlap with itself. Means two phases, two separate phases, they could be overlapping. Like you're working on two phases simultaneously. This is what it means. But okay, thank you for explaining.
Yeah, and I didn't think that was accurate.
Okay, right. Priya, you have chosen option B.
Yes, for the same reason as the other two participants mentioned, I think you can only have phases sequentially, one after the other.
All right, thank you. Lala, you have chosen option D.
I chose option D because I think in predictive we can have two phases overlapping or sequential. So if I phase my project, which is predictive, I know what I'm expecting. I can have them sequential or overlapping. That's what I think.
All right, thank you. Robin, you have chosen option D.
Yes, I agree completely with Layla. You can start phase 2 before phase one is completed, if the programming allows for it.
All right, absolutely. So what happens is we divide phases, divide project into different phases. Phase is also called a mini project. So assume a phase of a project is like a mini project. So we start a phase, we plan a phase, we execute it, we monitor and control, and we close it, and then we move to the next phase, right? So for example, let's take a simple example. You want to construct a highway, right, over a mountainous terrain, hilly area, let's suppose. So what you do is you divide the project into different phases. Like first would be the concept phase. After that would be feasibility. After that, there would be, let's suppose, design. Then there would be another phase. So you will start feasibility. You will plan it, like how you will be conducting the feasibility. You will execute it. You will monitor, control it, and close it. And then you move it to the design stage. Now, this is called sequential phasing because the next phase is dependent on the outcome of your current phase. So whatever the outcome of feasibility would be, it would impact your design, right? But it's not always the case. You can start next phase simultaneously while you're working on first phase. So for example, some outcome of first phase that says that you can start phase 2, but as you move on, you get more information from the phase 1, you can incorporate the changes in the phase 2. So phases could be sequential, phases could be simultaneous. So as Robin mentioned, you can start next phase while you are working on first phase. So whatever information you have, based on that, you can start next phase. So in predictive projects, phases could be sequential, phases could be overlapping. Right. Correct option is option D. Let's read the explanation. All right, so there could be instances where phases could be simultaneous or overlapping. Right, next question. Let's start with Mohan.
Yeah, sorry, apologize my voice. But I chose B. The company is moving to agile, and the question is about defining the scope effectively, right? Within this framework. So, obtaining a business requirement document during the early stages, it's obviously early on, so it's pre-project work, right? C involving stakeholders in early stages of project to ensure through the upfront planning. I mean, this could be an option. I think I ruled out D, sign off on project requirements before developing to ensure alignment. And I think I chose B because there is crafting the vision statement, where you are kind of defining the high level requirements of the project, and then clarifying further on the subsequent requirements with the product owner, involving the product owner, right? So that's within the roles and responsibilities of the agile.
All right. Thank you, Mohan. Your voice is too low, right? You can adjust that, your volume. Okay. Mary, you have chosen option C.
Yes, correct. So this is agile methodology.
Mm-hmm.
So that one of the principle is to involve stakeholder early in the stage, while the others are more like waterfront business requirements, and this is much more of the waterfront how it works. So C for me looks much more oriented towards agile.
All right, thank you. So you're saying it includes involvement of stakeholders, so that is the right option.
Early stages.
Early involvement. Thank you so much. All right. Richard, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I had a tough time with this question, but the way that I looked at it, your CIO is concerned about defining the scope. I mean, it's an agile project, so the scope isn't really clearly defined, but what can be defined are requirements. And I felt that if we can get the CIO to sign off on the project requirements, then it would be almost like an active listening exercise where we're having dialogue, we're understanding what the requirements are, we write them down on a document, and we have him sign off on it and be like, yes, this is exactly what I want. So the CIO would understand what we're going to deliver by the end of the project. And it just kind of ensures that we're both in alignment. That's kind of why, I mean, all of them sound good, but I thought that D kind of answered the question of what should the project manager do to ensure that the scope of the project is clearly defined, which in agile is like.
Okay, I have added one more option, all of these. Okay.
Thanks, I'll be circling in.
Okay, thank you for detailed explanation. Lala, do you agree with Richard?
No, I think in Agile we have a vision statement, a scope statement. So I chose B. I mean, all these options are good options. They involve stakeholders during early stages. We can, get the requirements. But we did not. Oh, you have option that says E?
No, there is no
Oh, you
option.
just made it up. Oh, okay. But I think option B is the correct for Agile vision statement. That kind of I think we had something similar question in one of our previous questions. I don't know, or I'm just dreaming.
All right, thank you so much. Mudit, you have chosen option B.
Yes, option B. In option B, we are actually working on a vision statement, which means we are working on all the major aspects at the high level. Secondly, it is involving the product owner who takes the requirements, collates the user stories, and also finds out which are the important ones, which are not. And hence, in this way, we are able to understand the requirement in a better way.
All right. Thank you so much. So it's an agile project. CIO is concerned about definition of scope. So what PM should do to manage the scope effectively? That's the question. Option 1, obtain a business requirement document during the early stages of the project. Again, agile. In agile, requirements evolve with the passage of time. So if we define something during the early stages, during initiation, that would not help. That is a good thing to do, but that would not help in situation where we have evolving requirements. So option A is incorrect. Option C, involve stakeholders during early stages of the project to ensure thorough upfront planning. Upfront planning is done in waterfall, not in agile, right? So this is also not correct. I have already talked about option D. That is also not correct. Correct answer is option B, where we develop a vision statement. We get high-level direction, right? So that team sticks to that. And within that high-level direction, product owner manages the requirements, right? So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. Next question. All right, Felicity, you have chosen option C.
Just jumping right to the answers, everybody answered quickly. Yeah, this is kind of a weird question, I guess, because I think it actually should be kind of a blend of all of those. Again, we need an option E, all of the above. But at the end of the day, I think the agreement of the stakeholders is important because they know their product, they know their needs, they know their requirements, and they would have the best understanding, as well as the kind of the question of the comfort level. That was something I remember reading about hybrid, was that hybrid should be chosen when all the stakeholders are not comfortable with different methodologies. So that says to me that the agreement of the stakeholders is very important when it comes to the selection of the methodology.
All right, thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen option D.
Sorry. Am I allowed to speak, right?
No, you need written permission. Go ahead.
Okay. I have your permission with the smile. The only reason why I picked scope of the project because, well, obviously these all things are required to determine the project methodology. But if we know the scope and we know that, okay, this is the scope and it may involve, then we can upon the scope, we can decide, okay, this has to go with the waterfall or this needs agile. So I believe having the scope in the head or given the scope, we can decide through that. It does involve stakeholder, culture, and history, the size of the organization, definitely. But I think scope is the one on which we can debate about which methodology has to follow.
All right, thank you. Robin, you have chosen option D.
A very difficult choice there. But what I considered that in considering the methodology, the scope of the project, you'd be thinking about the nature and extent of the project. So depending on the nature and extent, you would determine the methodology. So
All
that's why I lean towards scope of the project.
Thank you. Okay, so the question says, you can see it's a one-liner almost question, very simple, easy. I thought this would be the easiest question, right? Okay. It says the selection of a project management methodology primarily depends upon which of the following. So means we have to choose one, the most important factor. So organizational processes and procedures, yes. Whatever the organization has been doing, we do follow that, but it can be changed depending upon the circumstances. You can modify your processes. Organizational culture and history, yes. Whatever you do, it depends on culture and history, but you can make transition. Agreement of the stakeholders. We have been solving questions where, if you remember, for example, on one side, we have a team, on the other side, we have sponsor or executive, and they are not agreeing. For example, sponsor doesn't know about Agile. So what we do there, mentor the sponsor, educate the sponsor, tell them, means we try to convince them. So if stakeholders are not agreeing, but we need something to do, it doesn't mean we should not do that right thing. We should do the right thing, but for that, we need to educate stakeholders. We need to inform them. We need to convince them, right? Rather than doing something wrong, we need to convince them. Yes, agreement is required, but on the right thing, not on anything. So for example, if there is a project, let's suppose infrastructure project, you want to construct a house, let's suppose, or a highway, and stakeholders don't agree. One stakeholders, they say, okay, we need waterfall, others say we need agile. So what you would be doing? Would you be waiting for the agreement, or you would be convincing other stakeholder to go for waterfall because this is a requirement of the project? So the primary factor that defines which methodology you would be choosing, it's the need of the project. It's the nature of the project, what sort of work you are doing. If scope of work is known, you will be using waterfall. If scope of work is unknown, you will be using agile. Simple. Please keep this in your mind, this mindset, this principle. If requirements, scope of work are well known, certain, can be defined as early as possible, you can do upfront planning. it means you will be using waterfall methodology. If requirements are evolving, if the project is like that, then you will be using agile approach. And there was one comment when stakeholders don't agree, we use hybrid approach. Okay, let me clarify that. We use hybrid methodology when project contains some element which are definable, means some requirements which are certain and some requirements which are not certain, which are evolving. So part of project is very clear and part of project is evolving. So we use waterfall for the part of project which is clear, for which you can do upfront planning. And for the project portion which is not clear, which would evolve, we use adaptive methodology. So combination of both is called hybrid. So even stakeholders, let's suppose, don't agree, it doesn't mean we will be using hybrid approach. Hybrid also depends on type of project, nature of project, or the work. So simple rule, if scope is certain, waterfall. If scope is not clear, agile. If we have both the elements in the project, then we will be using hybrid. Correct answer is need of the project or scope of the project, which is option D. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Daniela, you have chosen option C.
Yes. So the project manager, it's a waterfall methodologies person. So he's not that familiar with Agile. However, he needs to ensure effective collaboration under the new approach, which is exactly what Agile is. I thought that C would be desirable because that would involve a lot of communication and teaching
All right.
team members. Yeah, anyway, and himself. That's the reason.
Thank you. You're saying we need to transition to new methodology, so mentoring would be helpful. Thank you. Jashri, you have chosen option B.
Yes, updating this register and reviewing the lessons learned register seems to
Your
be
voice is
aligned.
not clear.
Yeah, is it better now?
Almost same, but answer you can adjust that later.
Okay. So A and D seems to be aligning with the predictive methodology, whereas B seems to be identifying the training needs and addressing them. It is in common for both the project manager, since he's new to the agile methodology framework, and also to the other team members in common. As a team, they are able to identify the training needs and address them with option B. Amar.
All right. Thank you. Leila, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, so we have a project manager who's proficient in waterfall, and the approach that they're using in here, it's a hybrid, right? So I mean, the first thing I would do, I feel like I would identify the training that the overlapping gap, right? So where I need that training and then address those trainings. Update the risk register, there's nothing to do. So I crossed it out, option A. I mean, with how it's going to solve here, right? You have a profession in waterfall. Why are you going updating the risk register? So just I eliminate option A. It does not relate it to this question at all.
Okay.
Review lessons learned register. I mean, it's a waterfall approach, but the project right here, they're not using the waterfall approach. So reviewing the lessons learned, how is that going to help you?
Okay. But
Right.
you can learn from past, even if it is agile. So it's not always waterfall. You can learn from lessons.
Yeah, that was one of my kind of next option. Then I said, since we're talking about a hybrid, I mean, you can go look at your risk register, and then since you can learn how how they were used in the past, or all those things. But then I thought the identify the training and the gap, that kind of was the right answer here. But I was between B and D, so
All
I
right.
crossed out A and C.
All right. Thank you. You crossed C. Mudit has chosen C. Mudit, why C? Could you please elaborate? Leila,
I actually saw that basically they are asking how the communication, the collaboration can be effective. So update risk register, absolutely, it is not possible. Review lessons register, but we have to improve the collaboration, and hence we are not taking out time with the people. Training needs and address them. Yes, you can conduct trainings from external people as well, but during the trainings, there will be no time for collaborating. Here, if he has a separate time for mentoring the team members, he'll be able to talk to them and understand them better. Maybe it's waterfall, maybe it's hybrid, but he'll get time to talk to them, and he will have time for better collaboration because the team members are together and he can talk to them.
All right. So you're saying trainings are formal, so you don't get time to talk to individual and understand them. So trainings do not promote collaboration. You should mentor. Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Right, let's take one more comment. Kokila, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, just because they have hired a project manager proficient in waterfall methodology, and this is hybrid product management approach for the new initiative. So basically he needs to see where the training needs are and address them first thing, because it's hybrid.
So what's wrong with Mudit's explanation? He thinks C is better for collaboration under the new approach. Why you have chosen B over C? What's wrong with C? Kokila?
Set aside time for mentoring team members. This overall organization approach, not only for team members, right?
No, it's certain for team members.
It's talking about mentoring. The team doesn't need, it doesn't say in the question that team needs some mentoring help or anything like that.
All right. So you're saying it has nothing to do with the question. So how B is relevant to the statement? Identify training needs.
Because the project is on hybrid and they hired a project manager proficient in waterfall methodology, there's some training needed.
All right. So what I understand, you're saying there is some sort of gap here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Makes sense. All right. So correct answer is, first of all, you try to understand the situation. You are a project manager with certain skill set. The requirements are entirely different. So first of all, you need to understand what exactly you need to do. The problem with option C is that it's a generic comment, like set aside time for mentoring team members. Mentoring about what? Mentoring about people skill, mentoring about new approach, mentoring about collaboration. So this does not address the problem which is mentioned in the question. Question says you need to transition from waterfall to hybrid. You have waterfall skill set. So you need to identify what is the gap and where you should focus. So first is the analysis, first is the understanding, then you will be jumping towards the right option. Maybe that could be mentoring in certain area, right? Correct answer is option B. We identify training needs and address them. So that would help improve collaboration under new approach. When people are aware of new approach, then there would be enhanced collaboration. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Yusuf, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, because here it said it will be changed frequently. So this unstable scope. And in complex situation, I think Scrum is the best. Because Kanban is like, it's more of arranging the work, which you have a fixed item for it. You want to flow rather than a flow of items. But for complexity, I think Scrum, because you need the stand-up daily and updates and so on. So the Scrum is maybe the best methodology.
Right. So you're saying Kanban is a workflow management system rather than requirements management system. So we should go for Scrum in complex.
I will not say this as a general rule, but Kanban is more of visualization of the flow.
Okay.
That's the main idea of it.
Okay.
So and at the end it has an iterative way of analysis, but for incremental, maybe I think more towards Scrum, more, because if you change the scope, that means you are incrementally changing, updating the values that's stable. So in Kanban, even the value is not stable, but at least is in my reading, in my background, I see it is the effectiveness, it will be lower than Scrum.
All right, but Yusuf, Kanban is not just visualization. It has a lot of, for example, work in progress limit. It has pull-based system. It has continuous delivery. So it's more than visualization. But thank you for comment. Marta, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, I chose option B because in the statement, it says that requirements that are expected to change frequently, meaning that it will require more of what Scrum delivers on the fixed sprint cycle. So I chose this one, the option B, because it provides not only the framework, but you have the methodology that helps to understand the changes that will be happening frequently through the fixed sprint cycles.
All right, thank you. Robin, you have chosen option A.
It was a bit of a flip of a coin between A and B. But when I considered the degree of variability and the expected to change frequently, I felt that maybe Kanban is more suited as the best methodology.
All right, thank you. Okay, Manmeet, you have chosen option A.
Almost same explanation with the guy. I forgot the name. Sorry. Kanban is more like the agile, I believe, because the question says that there's a variability in task and requirements are expected to change. So I believe Kanban caters that. So that's why I picked A.
All right, thank you. Mudit, you have chosen option A.
I think Kanban is Kanban. It allows continuous delivery, and hence there is more flexibility, and flexibility is required for this particular project.
Why flexibility is required?
Because there is a degree of change in this particular question.
Okay, what sort of change?
Any variability in task duration and priority.
Right. So the problem here is variability in task duration. So normally what we do in Scrum, we have tasks which are doable within one sprint, right? So we define sprint length based on the amount of time we need to complete a particular feature on average, right? But the problem here is that question says the project has a high degree of variability in task duration and priority with requirements that are expected to change frequently. The frequent changes are there. As Mudit mentioned, Kanban offers more flexibility because there are no time boxed in Kanban, right? There are no fixed durations in which you have to complete a certain task. It's a continuous delivery. You keep on pulling item. You complete one item. Once it is completed, it moves to the next stage and you can pull next item. It gives you more flexibility. It gives you more room to manage changes, and especially when duration and priority keeps on changing. Correct answer is option A, Kanban, because it gives more flexibility. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Priya, you have chosen option C.
Yes, usually with senior management, I think it's a good idea for communication and transparency to involve them in the agile ceremonies, especially things like sprint review or yes, sprint review. So that's why I chose option C.
All right, so you're saying, okay, you will be talking to the senior management and saying, okay, we are starting the project. Let us start. And then we will be inviting you to the ceremonies, right?
Yes.
So you're parking the conflict for some time. You're kickstarting the project with agile approach. Even if stakeholders agree, you say, okay, no problem. We can start the project, and then you will invite them and gradually you will build that consensus or understanding, right?
Yeah, and in the sense that, agile ceremonies, it also include story mapping, road mapping. So these are all happening upfront. So even before they start a sprint, all of these activities have to be done. So having them involved at that point also might be helpful. So you could involve them in so many different ways especially since the project team is comfortable with agile. I think that makes sense to go with what the project team is comfortable with.
Thank you. But what about the conflict?
The conflict between, you mean, senior management and the project team?
Yeah.
I think education is the key.
Okay.
So maybe B is an option.
You're saying this is the right answer. Okay.
It's possible.
Okay. Thank you. Jashri, you have chosen D option.
So B, I chose B first, conducting agile methodology training sessions for senior management. But more than that, I thought D would be better because engaging in discussions with the senior management to agree on a framework. Though they have shifted from traditional to agile framework, there is still a conflict between the project team and the senior management. So it is better to engage in discussions with senior management to agree on a framework rather than conducting training sessions because in the prior discussions, they might already be made aware of what the agile methodology is all about, and there is not much of a training session really required.
All right. All right. Thank you. So one assumption that you made, there might be trainings or discussions which have already happened. So no, we don't make any such assumption. Why option D is correct here and not B? Normally what we do, we mentor stakeholders, we train them, we coach them. But the problem here is that there is no indication in the question like senior management, they have no idea about Agile, right? In previous questions, you might have noticed it's clearly written that PM or the team, they are good in Agile, good in Waterfall, and senior management, they don't have idea. Sponsor is not aware. But here, there is no such indication like senior management is, that they have no idea. So there is a friction, whatever the reason is, right? So you need to talk to them, right? You organize trainings, you coach them where there is a misunderstanding about where there is lack of knowledge about Agile or Waterfall or whatever the methodology which is being discussed. Correct answer is option D. You need to talk to stakeholders, engage in discussion with senior management to agree on a framework. B is not correct because there is no learning gap or knowledge gap mentioned in statement. All right, let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right. Priya, you have chosen option A.
I think I'm wrong. I just wanted to choose a different answer, but I'll go with A for now because the first, what threw me off was what I went for. That was because I thought, industrial projects are more where the scope is very fixed. The requirements are not that changing that much. So you kind of have like a fixed scope. So it would work better for knowledge work projects where the scope might not be fixed and there's a lot of change in requirements. So went with that. But then reading the word only made me think that I should probably not have chosen that because it's very restrictive. So.
All right. Thank you. So because of word only, you are a little bit confused, but you're saying since requirements are not clear, so if you're using Agile methodology, that is rolling wave planning. Right. Robin, you have chosen option A.
Yes, actually, this one, I had to do a bit of thinking and I'm still not sure. There's all four are still swimming around in my mind. But in finalizing my decision, I went with agile methodology because it just seemed to fit rolling wave idea. So, that's very thin, but that's basically why I went for that as an answer.
All right, thank you. So just quickly, let me explain what is rolling wave planning. If you recall, we discussed this in the session, so it's something like that. So you have planning cycles. So rolling wave planning is a type of planning where you do two levels of planning, if you recall. One is you develop a high-level plan, and second, you do detailed planning, right? Rolling wave planning is a type of planning where you do two levels of planning, high level and detailed. High level planning for the entire project and detailed planning for near-term work. So normally we do rolling wave planning for long-term projects with longer duration. So for example, if you're working on a project with duration, let's suppose 10 years. So there is no point of, planning for 10 years now. What you do is you develop a high-level plan and you would be doing detailed planning for first 2 years, let's suppose. And when 2 years are about to complete, you plan for third and fourth year because you have more and more information. The problem with option 1 is that it says only for knowledge work. Knowledge work is something that is not tangible, something non-physical, right? That is knowledge work. For example, software development, IT, research work, that is knowledge work. And other one is industrial work, which is tangible, which is physical, like construction, industrial work, or production. So it's not only for knowledge work. You can use rolling wave planning for industrial work as well. For example, as I've given you example, you're working on a highway project, which is 10 years long. So there is no point of doing detailed planning for 10 years. You can make a high-level plan for 10 years and do detailed planning for near-term work. So this is called rolling wave planning. Rolling wave planning is a type of planning that depends on progressive elaboration, and progressive elaboration where you elaborate scope progressively as you move on. Rather than defining each and everything in the start, what you do is you progressively elaborate because you want to base your decision on updated information. So correct option here is in predictive projects, rolling wave planning is suitable, for both industrial and knowledge work projects, you can use rolling wave planning, regardless of whether it is knowledge work or industrial work. It depends on the duration of the project. If duration is long, what you would be doing, you will be doing high-level planning and detailed planning for near-term work. Correct answer is option C. Let's read the explanation. All right, so last line, it isn't strictly limited to short-term projects, nor it is confined to either agile or predictive methodology exclusively. I hope it is clear. Next question. All right. Daniela, you have chosen option B.
Unlucky option B, right? Yes, I chose incremental because that aligns to the definition of adds new functionality. So
Okay.
incremental would add new stuff.
All right, thank you. So it says adding new functionality is incremental.
All right, but then it says continuously improve. That's actually iterative as well. So adding new functionality, my understanding is it is incremental, but continuously improve it is iterative. So, right.
So what is correct?
Well, I chose B, so which is obviously wrong. So I have to stick with it.
All right, thank you.
It's both one, A and B.
Okay, A and B. Thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen option A.
I pick iterative because I do remember the Mona Lisa painting thing. So we just have the base framework and then we do iterations, like we repeat our steps to improve and we add some new things, not new, well, yeah, we do add some new things to make it better, like improve it. So that's why I picked iterative.
All right, and I remember you explained that picture as well, right? If you recall. That was correct, but this explanation is not in line with that picture, that photo of incremental versus iterative. But thank you for explanation. Robin, you have chosen option D.
Yes, I thought, all of them actually fit in, but option D actually gives an overall picture of the entire question. So that's why I went for D.
All right. So what's happening here? On one hand, you're adding new functionalities, which is incremental. At the same time, you are continuously improving the quality of already delivered features. Means you're doing repetitions, you're doing iterations. So it's actually both iterative and incremental, as Daniela mentioned. And combination of iterative and incremental is called agile, right? So correct option is option D. I hope it is clear. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Kokila, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, actually, I was not aware of acceptance test driven development, but it was interesting because here it says the team knows the acceptance criteria for individual code of unit, and that's the reason I chose that.
All right, so you said word acceptance is in the scenario and it is in option A, so let's go for it. Okay,
Yeah.
good, thank you. Yusuf, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, actually, I'm not experienced in the software engineering, but I remember one day I read about this that's used for backward. There's a word here, backward, from the define development task. So it's based on no experience and very shallow knowledge background.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mohan, you have chosen option B.
Yeah. Yeah, I chose test-driven development primarily because, I mean, by definition, the code, the test is written first, and then you write the code and you test to the code for and if it meets for the acceptance criteria is met, and evaluate if the acceptance criteria is met.
Right. Thank you. So you're saying first we write the test, then we write the code. So same is happening here. So it is called test-driven development. So that's why you have chosen B, right?
Right.
Okay. Felicity, you have chosen option C.
Yes, for the very simple reason that I don't know that the other three exist,
Good.
but I do know that feature-driven development exists.
All right. Thank you. So feature-driven development is you pick a feature, you plan it, right? You develop it, and you move to the next feature. So features after feature, that is called feature-driven development. So you develop a model of your product in the start. That is combination of various features. You prioritize feature, you pick a feature, you plan by feature, you develop by feature, right? You review it and you move to the next. So feature after feature, that is called feature-driven development. But the scenario says team knows the acceptance criteria for individual units of code and needs to work backward. Means first you have tests or acceptance criteria, and then you write code as Mohan mentioned. This is called test-driven development, TDD. When you know your acceptance criteria or the test that you would be testing, and based on that, you write code. So you keep on writing code until you satisfy the test. This is called test-driven development. Difference between ATDD and behavior-driven development is that acceptance test-driven development is the same thing. But the only difference is that acceptance test-driven development is you know the acceptance criteria for the overall product, not the units of code. When you talk about at the code level that you are working as a team that has nothing to do with customer or the end user, that is called test-driven development. But when you're talking about acceptance criteria based on which your product would be accepted, that is called acceptance test-driven development. You develop product based on the high-level acceptance criteria that you agree with the customer. If you're talking about high level, that is called ATDD. If you're talking about unit codes at small scale, at team level, that is called test-driven development. Correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, so acceptance criteria, ATDD focuses on acceptance criteria at a higher level, typically for user stories of feature, not individual units of code, right? I hope it is clear. Next question. All right. Modit, you have chosen option B.
Yes, because this is a project which is very complex and has undefined requirements. So going with an agile methodology will be helpful. And since the requirements are undefined, so there will be added features sometimes or changes in the features of the project, and hence the iterative development approach will be helpful.
All right, but Modit, question says tight budgetary controls. How agile helps you control your budget? It actually it gives you less control on budget because it's iterative.
Yeah, true. That's because of that I had earlier chosen D, but then because of the changing complex requirements, I thought maybe that might not suit. The earned value management might not suit because the values are changing constantly.
All right, I agree. You're right. Like earned value management is not suitable with when you have complex or changing requirements. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I got your point. You're saying it's changing and complex requirements, so you're going with option B. All right, thank you. All right. Mohan, you have chosen option C.
Right. In this, there are two things, right? The project scope is complex. I'm sorry, there are three things actually: complex, undefined requirements, and a tight budget. So I felt like D focuses more just on earned value and cost control. So eliminated that. Agile contracting with an iterative development approach. So I don't think iterative development approach would be feasible here because you can't just have the MVP developed all together because the requirements are constantly changing, right? And then A obviously is a no-go, so that's why I came with C, which addresses both the cost concerns as well as the undefined requirements, which you can then base it in phases and then go to the customer and do a stage gate review and then get a confirmation and proceed to the next phase.
All right. So you're saying you have stage gates where you can check and based on that you can proceed further. All right, thank you. Kokila, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, Amar. So I've found all the questions are not relevant to me. Except, for example, the traditional contract with fixed price I eliminated. Agile contracting with iterative development approaches I eliminated because of the cost factor. Earned value management with focus on the cost control. Anyways, the project management will be having that, right? They have the earned value management while deciding the scope, so that's why I ended up with phased execution with stage gates.
All right, absolutely. So the problem here is client requires tight budgetary control. So when we have tight budgetary control, we can't go with iterative development because it doesn't give you control over cost. It gives you flexibility to incorporate changing requirements. Fixed price contract, we can't go with because some undefined requirements. So we can't go with fixed price contract. So A is eliminated, B is eliminated, EVM is not relevant for projects where you have undefined requirements. So correct option is phased execution with stage gates. So you divide your projects into phases, like whatever requirements are known, they are into phase 1. You execute it and then you conduct stage gates. Stage gates are review of the previous stage. So you review what you have done. If you have more budget, you can make a go or no go decision. Like, would you be doing the second phase or not? So it gives you more control. So these are the control points or checkpoints where you can review your previous project, and based on that, you make decision how you will be proceeding in the future. So correct option is option C. Let's read the explanation. All right. Thank you so much. We are done with today's lesson. I hope you have learned. So there's a comment about duration of the session. It's relatively longer. So initially, ideally, I like to keep it within 60 minutes, but the idea is not just to quickly solve 10 questions. The idea is to give you guys opportunity to say what you have in your mind, right? The thing that I like about this session is you all have opportunity to say whatever is in your mind. So you don't feel left out or you don't feel unheard. That's why I give all of you opportunity, even your answers are right, wrong, whatever, so that I give you chance and you speak and everybody learn. And that's the learning actually. But still, I want to, control the time to make sure that we complete it within 60 minutes, but it can go up depending upon discussion. All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow with another topic. Take good care of yourself. Bye.
Thank you, Amar.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.